Hello and welcome everybody to the 167 podcast. In today's episode, we are looking back at the year 2021, some of the positives, some of the highlights. Stick around. There's a saying in the Bible that Alrighty, back at the 167 podcast. Hello and welcome everybody. We're so glad that you could join us for what is our last episode of the year. Can you believe it? 2021 has come and pretty much gone. It's been an amazing year and we're so glad that we get to round off the year with another podcast. Welcome by the usual crew. Phil and Sven is in the house. Sven, how are you going? We're obviously doing things a little different today.
Very good. Yeah, I'm keeping well. It is good. End of the year, getting into the Christmas vibe, getting Christmas spirit. So excited about that. And yeah, we are doing it differently today because, well,
we like to shake
things happening. There's just things happening. People are like, where's your normal set? Our normal set is wherever we are. Home is where the hearth is, and the hearth is right here, right now, in the Zoom room. So yeah, it's all good. Yeah. How are you, Phil?
Yeah, man. Good. Very excited about today. Excited to be ending off what's been an amazing year. I think we have been kind of blown away, especially with regards to the podcast, with regards to 167, to be able to round things off and just to have some chats, have some laughs, have some conversation about what this year had for us. I think it's going to be great to look back. I think it's always awesome before you can look forward, which normally is what happens at the beginning of New Year's. You look forward with your goals and with your ambitions and what you like to do. I think it's a great exercise to actually look back and to see 100%. What happened in the year, some of the amazing things that God has provided for. And yes, the year's had its challenges without a doubt, but I think that it's also great practice to be able to look back at some of the positives, even though
so true.
Even though things can be crazy, I think we've had a good year. I've really enjoyed myself on the podcast. We were chatting about it earlier. The fact that we've gotten through roughly 25 episodes this year is something that kind of just started as like we want to help, we want to add value, and this year it felt like we really got some momentum. I hope you've enjoyed it, but I've really
this has been fantastic. No, it's been fantastic. It's like one of those things of, okay, once we're in it, it flies, it flows. It's so good. I enjoy it. Good conversations, and I think there's good helpful content there for people as well, but we're having fun and just trying to build this podcast and build the community, and so it has been cool. And I think looking back at the year, having the year in review, kind of just want to make it a lighthearted episode, just have a look at some of the good things that have happened this year. And it's amazing that very often, most times, you will say you've had the best and worst time. Because good things happen in difficult situations, and difficult situations don't stop just because you're going through good things. So I think it works both ways. And so it's been a tough year, but it's also been so many good things that have come out of the year. I'm keen to look back at the year, and maybe just for some of our listeners to we'd love to know what's been some of the highlights of your year.
Yeah, please.
Phil, my wife and I, every night around the dinner table, we ask a question of everybody before anybody can do anything after supper. It's like, what was the highlight of the day?
Yeah, it's a tough question.
Just so that, and obviously, like, it's sometimes like hard work.
Yeah, it is.
But it's actually just a great way for us to connect and to get to know each other a little bit more about what's happening in the day. So for our listeners, love to know what's the highlight been for them. Yeah. Because otherwise, we're just talking to them the whole time. We would love for our listeners and our viewers, our audience, to kind of talk back to us. And so we would love to check those comments out and see what the highlights have been.
Yeah. And for anybody that's joining the podcast, maybe you're relatively new here, 167 podcast, that's us, and our whole premise of what we try to do every single week is we try to add value. We try to help through helpful discussion. The name comes from the fact that there's 168 hours in the week. One of those is maybe spent in a church or a house of worship somewhere, but then you still have a whole bunch of other hours where God can speak to you, where things can happen, where you can grow as an individual, grow as a leader. So that's what we do. We try to have helpful conversations. We don't claim to have it all right, probably quite the opposite, but we do like to grow, and we do like to try our best to have helpful conversations. And maybe just to start us off today, as we are looking back, and we're going to try and have some chats about the podcast, have some chats a bit about the year, but maybe Sven, for you, if you could describe 2021 using only one word, what word would you use to start putting on the spot? If there's one word, and I've actually got a word, so maybe I can start.
You start. I'm terrible at these one word things.
I'm also terrible. Bad. I only asked the question because I've got the word already. So like I can just do that. I think for me, if I could describe 2021 in one word, I would say I would use the word growth. Because I think what this last year and even the year before has forced, and I use the word forced intentionally, a lot of people to do, is that you've had to begin to innovate and adapt because of the way things have changed. And I'm not just speaking from a church or minute. I think for anybody and everybody, whatever you do, a lot of how you did it has probably needed to change in the last year because of the vast change of 2 years that we've had in the world. And for me, it's been huge with regards to my growth, because I've had to step out into areas and to do things. I mean, yourself as well included, but you can't take my word, growth. And for our team and everybody has had to move and had to do things differently. They've had to grow out of the comfort zone. And we find that it's been an amazing experience. It's so tough in the moment, but that whole process of stepping out and doing things differently, it just brings growth into your life. And I feel like me as a person, I feel like there's more to me now. There's more substance. There's more I can help with. There's more I can add into different situations because of maybe some of the things that have happened. And you asked the question, would some of those things still have happened if, COVID and all of these things wasn't a thing? Probably not. So it's so easy to look back and to see the negatives. And of course, there's been some tough things that have happened in the last 2 years. And I fully understand that. But we also don't want to get into a place where we just kind of see the difficulty and we don't see, but wow, like we've had to step up, we've had to develop, and geez, check how much we've grown. So I would say, again, I'm very far from the finished product without a doubt, but the last year, and I would even say a bit of 2020 as well, there's been so much growth in it. And I'm quite stoked about that. I'm quite happy about it because I think it's going to help me and help us in the future without a doubt.
Dude,
have you got a word?
I have got a word, but it might not be as promising as yours. Yours is so like positive and uplifting.
No, it's your word. Give us your word.
I'd be like, there's a song, but the word would be roller coaster.
Good, yeah.
Roller coaster. Because here's why. Because a roller coaster is full of fear, but also full of excitement in the same ride. Yeah. There is an up and there is a down. The up is like taking a deep breath. The down is like this exhale of like, okay, this is going fast. It moves fast. We're at the end of it. But by the end of the roller coaster, if you didn't lose your lunch, you probably had a good time. Yeah. And so that's how I feel. Yeah. We haven't lost our lunch, and we've had a good time. There's that photo on when you go through the roller coaster of like, some people are like, yeah, other people are like, oh. And I think it's like excitement, but panic and fear all in the same bag at the same time. So no, it was good. Yeah, it was good. Yeah. I
think a lot of us have to develop an ability to still enjoy the ride, even though there's the ups and the downs and the loops and the turns. And I love how you categorize that. It's like the roller coaster is perfect. It's exciting and it's incredibly scary. Yeah. Which is probably what this year was for some people. For a lot of people, it's had the turns, it's had everything, and you've still had to be able, or you've still tried to be able to enjoy it and to look back, to find the wins where you can find them, which is probably what a lot of our conversations have been about. The 25 odd episodes that we've made this year and we've tried to help with, it's probably been about, we've spoken a lot about leadership. We've spoken a lot about kind of handling every day-to-day stuff as individuals, as people, and even as people trying to become more like Christ. But I think at the heart of a lot of this conversation, we can't let the circumstance, we can't let what's happening in front of us or around us or fear of the future determine what we're going to do today, how we're going to grow as people, how we're going to affect and help and add value in all the other areas of life. And I think the people that, I mean, there were some guys that this kind of revelation dropped for them even early in 2020 already. And you find that those guys are the ones that have really kicked on and have leveraged and have used this kind of season of uncertainty so well. And I think for all of us, it's just, for me especially, it's about, there's a lot of things that I wish were different. I mean, from a church point of view, like I would have loved if there was just no breaks and no like, okay, we're locked down. Okay, you can go back. We're locked down. You can go back. Because as soon as you do that, it feels like you lose momentum. It feels like you kind of have to restart and start over. So for me, I'm like, that would have been great if that wasn't there. But even in the process of doing that and finding new ways of bringing people and including people and being responsible for people when they are in the building, I feel like, again, we've managed to learn a lot of lessons and take a lot from it. That maybe in the future, this might not be the problem, but there might be other problems or issues that from the lessons we've learned today and in 2021, I really think like that's just how I think God works. I think that there will be things that we have to overcome today. That's not just for overcoming's sake, but I feel like it will become an arrow in your quiver at a later point when you need to take down a bigger giant or a bigger obstacle. You can't just go through 21. I think the inclination might be to just get through 2021. Who knows what 2022 is going to look like, but to just get through it, make it to the finish line and be like, whew, thank the Lord, that's done. Bring on 22, bring on the new. But it's so good to be able to just understand and just remember some of the things you've had to navigate, because the tools and the growth and the things that have happened in your heart and your life in that, I hope it's still going to be something incredibly useful as we move forward.
I think so. I think you're spot on. It's good to be able to look at it and to take as much out of it as you can into the new year. Take what you've learned. I think that the superpower at the moment is still flexibility. I think it's still remaining flexible, being able to change at short notice, adjust, adapt, improve, evaluate, adjust, adapt, improve. Kind of depending on what season it is. Certainly for us where we are living, that's kind of a weekly, monthly, ongoing thing. So, but it's making us sharper. It's making us more agile, and so go take it out. Yeah, it's good. And so what do we got for the year?
So we've just come off an amazing kind of year of podcasting as well, doing the 167, which has been amazing. What did you expect of the year with regards to the 167? Because we started in 2020 towards the end of the year, and we shot some episodes and we really enjoyed it. And then I think we just thought, well, let's commit to this thing. Let's do it. Now the year has come and gone. We filmed quite a few hours of content and of podcasts. How have you felt about it? What have you enjoyed? What have you enjoyed most about it? And did it change? Did your expectations at the beginning of the year and now actually having done the year, has things changed for you?
Well, I've loved the fact that we've finished the year podcasting, because when we started, our goal was, listen, we're just going to run this thing for 2 to 3 years and evaluate then. And I'm like, the fact that we've actually made it past a year of podcasting isn't already an incredible celebration, because a lot of people don't get past 10 episodes. We've done that, and I'm so pumped by that. I tried not to have too many expectations other than trying to help and to give as much value to people as possible, and to just kind of create another touch point more specifically for people in our church, but not necessarily, but just the fact that there's helpful content for people throughout the week. So from that point of view, I'm like, we're winning. The fact that we've done 36 podcast episodes, crazy for me already, is huge. Should we have done more? Maybe. Should we have done less? Maybe. But what we have done is we've done the best we could, and so I'm pumped by that. We've had just looking at the performance over it, like it's so up and down. It's scary, and I'm not unhappy. Like on one day there's 85 plays, on another day there's 6 plays. End of last month was like on the 25th of November, 56 audio plays, so the things just move up and down, and I'm trying not to be concerned about that. But the fact that we've played over 1,000 plays is absolutely amazing. So I hope that our community are enjoying it. I'm just having a good time. So it's nice. What's cool is when we go out, and then there's people who tell us, oh man, I love that 167 podcast. This makes you want to be like, just buff out your chest a little bit more and say, oh, thanks so much. We're just
Are we
having fun.
famous podcasters? I think is maybe a question that we have to start tackling. Maybe not just yet, but let's start thinking about it.
It's definitely got to be on the table. I must say, the one thing I'm not happy about is that we don't have any sponsorship deals just yet.
I think that's I think that it's a prayer goal for 2022, and I think the right sponsor will come along that fits the vision of the
totally
brand.
A coffee or water or.
I'll take a coffee sponsorship without a doubt.
Didn't we at the very first episode of this podcast, didn't we say that that Seattle has to be a sponsor?
I think we can just approach them and see how that goes. I don't think for me, like I'm fully with you. I think that try not to have as many expectations as you want. But what's really encouraged me is that because we obviously want to reach as many people as we can, just because we want to help and be able to add value to as many people as we can. So, and a lot of that when it comes to YouTube, when it comes to podcasting, or even when it comes to building a community, of which we're so thankful for the amazing community that we already have, and people that are already listening and chat to us and give us feedback. For me, like that's really just one of the top things that have happened this year. People just, hey, I listened in the car, I really enjoyed that. And for me, those are great things to hear. But even looking forward and understanding that great things are built over time. And when you look at some of the awesome podcasters and guys that are really focused on helping people and getting out there with good content, and we've got so much to learn just in our trade and what we're trying to do. But a lot of these guys speak about, even gamers, I mean, and streamers, they speak about years and years and years of streaming and nobody watching, and nobody watching. And then you look at him now and you just can't imagine it. You can't focus on like, but how is that possible? You got 5,000, 10,000 people watching you at a time. And it's just about, we're going to be committed and we're going to be consistent. And for me, like, if you believe in what you're doing and you really want to be there to help people, to add value, I think that you can do those seasons. And I think even this year, by God's grace, we've built some community, which is amazing. But I think for us, like, we really believe in what we're trying to do. We really believe in the value of getting some video content out there, some audio content out there to help people, because there is just so much going out. We can also add a voice and we can also try to help. And we really believe in it. So I think that's maybe why. I know you talk about what an amazing goal it was just to get through the year. I think the fact that we believe in what we're doing and we really want to help, I think that will put us in good stead as well for 2022. And what 2022 looks like for our podcast, God knows. We're gonna try our best, and if there might be more podcasts, it might be less, it might be structured differently. But I think the message, the thing that we really believe in, I think that's going to stay the same. So for the community that are with us, we love you guys, and we're so grateful for you. And the community that are going to join us, I hope they can pick that up. It's like, it's just two dudes, pretty good fashion sense, sure, but there's nothing perfect. It's just guys that really want to take time and just help. So for me, like, that's been one of the awesome things about the years, that I think that's grown. I think it's developed from the first time we filmed something to the 35th time we've put something out there. I think we've become more comfortable in what we're trying to do and what we're trying to get across. And I hope that comes through on our video.
I think while it's fun and while we're enjoying it, and that's the thing that I think has been really helpful in sustaining. It's not for us to be the top podcast here or there. It's actually just, hey, while we're having fun, it really makes the whole process easier and enjoyable. And so this is good times.
Yeah, without a doubt. So speaking on the topic of fun, we've got one or two fun things. I hope the guy and the community knows the game overrated, underrated. Because
we're adding a segment in here. This is a new segment. We should have like a soundtrack reel playing here.
I think
overrated.
I think that could be arranged. Without a doubt. And for everybody that's watching and listening, overrated, underrated is a really cool game. That we talk about some things and we talk about some topics, and you can play along with us while you're watching or while you're listening, because we're going to give our opinion. But what makes us awesome is that we're all very different. Someone is trying really hard to phone me right now, and I don't know how many times I need to put the phone down in their ear for them to get the message. So we're gonna kick it off.
Silence is a real thing.
Yeah, that's the thing. We're gonna kick it off right now with our section, and I'm going to start, Sven. I'm going to start you off with an easy one, and you need to just give me your honest opinion, and maybe we can just give some clarity around our answer as well. The first one is popping bubble wrap. Is that underrated Is it overrated, or is it, is it just appropriately rated? It is what it is. We know what it is.
I'm gonna say underrated.
Underrated.
I'm gonna say underrated
All right.
because I think if you're in a mood, like if you're a fidgeter,
Yeah.
popping it is probably just really good for your soul.
It's like a release.
It's just like a bah, 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 bah. But if you're the parent or there's someone else in the room, it's highly overrated. So I think if you're by yourself, you're just there popping away, it's underrated. Got other people in the room, I'm not sure they agree.
For me, I'm not sure. I don't think I've popped enough bubble wrap in my time, because it feels good, but it's not something that keeps my attention for super long.
But go back to the 8-year-old Phil. I mean, let's not talk about the 24-year-old Phil, the 25-year-old. Let's go back to 8-year-old Phil.
8-year-old Phil would have had a ball. No, you're right. I think that's probably the perspective I needed there. I would say it's appropriately rated. I think there's good hype around it.
Nobody likes the middle line, Phil.
I know. That's the only one I say. That's the only one I'll say appropriate. All the rest of them, I'm going to go to an extreme, I promise. Okay, here's the next one. So underrated, overrated, sleeping in on a day where you don't have to go to work. Sleeping in. So obviously you could be, if you're not at work, there's a lot of activities, a lot of stuff, but the actual thing of, I'm not working today, I'm going to sleep in. Is that underrated? Is it overrated? Or you think that's just fine how it is?
Up, man. I'm gonna go with. You see, what I'm gonna go with here is what I'm gonna choose is.
You got to pick one.
I'm gonna go with underrated, but I think everybody rates it highly, so it's hard to underrate sleeping. I don't know many people who will be like, no, I just want to get up. I'm gonna go with underrated.
I think I'm gonna
underrated because it's nice not having to be anywhere.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna agree. I'm gonna say sleeping in. And you know what? I'm even gonna take it a bit further and say that you don't even necessarily have to be sleeping, but the act of just staying in bed.
I think that's where the gold lies.
And if you needed to doze off, or if you want, you could. The option's there for you. You can do that. But if it's also about pulling the iPad out and watching something, I think that is extremely, extremely underrated, because we all know that you just need one of those days, especially all of our high capacity.
That's a really good avenue.
We've got some high capacity people watching here. They're busy. They're doing life. I think if there's that day, it doesn't have to be every week, but if there's a day somewhere where it's just, if possible, I think that's extremely underrated.
That's good. They're too busy preparing and praying to be in church to have Sunday be their sleeping day. So I'm guessing it's a Saturday.
It's another day. It can't be Sunday. Yeah. It's another day. I'm going to throw one out here, and I think I know what the answer is going to be. And I'm going off my note. I'm going to say coffee. Coffee, is it underrated? Is it appropriately rated? And you got to think about it. Like, think about how society views coffee, or is it overrated?
For my coffee community, forgive me, but coffee is highly overrated.
Highly overrated. I was not expecting that.
I know. I'm thinking of ways to cut back. I'm thinking of ways to cut back, to stop. Do you know, here's why. Because coffee promises a lot when you grind it. It promises you this aromatic experience that's going to take you to another plane. And then you realize, you know what, the taste is good, but it's never as good as the smell.
Yeah.
So
that's so true.
Like coffee for me is like, yeah, man, I'm going to grab another coffee. That's great. But eventually it gets a little bit overboard. Yeah. So I'm going to say coffee is overrated. Doesn't mean I'm going to stop.
No, sure. I agree. So I really didn't expect you to say that. I really thought that you'd be like,
that threw you.
Maybe
I'm actually enjoying right now, believe it or not, a vanilla rooibos tea.
I never thought I'd hear you ever say those words, ever.
Am I getting old? Am I getting sophisticated? I think
growing? Sophisticated and growth is probably the words you're looking for there. I don't know if old. I would say coffee is so hyped though. Coffee is hyped.
There's a lot of hype.
So people love coffee. So I don't think I could say it's underrated. I really do think that people rate it properly, and I think there is a proper rating on it, but Is it all that it turns out to be? I was going to say overrated, but
Mm.
now I sound like I'm copying you because I wasn't expecting you to say that.
Yeah, no, through. You know what coffee is good is social.
It is good.
It's that, hey, look, I'm carrying this takeaway cup from
Yeah.
XYZ coffee house.
Yeah.
Look at me, but drinking it by yourself, maybe first cup in the morning, but by the third or fourth by yourself, it's just not a happy thing.
No, I think you're right. Why don't we talk Windows?
I've got one for you.
Oh, have you got one? Okay, you go.
I've got one for you. Liverpool Football Club, overrated, underrated?
I think at the moment they're incredibly underrated. And the reason being, obviously, we're both, Liverpool fans.
So we're unbiased.
I think from what has happened to the club, I think over the last 7 years or 8 years, ever since the manager came in, and where the club was to where it is now, I still don't think they receive the plaudits that they probably deserve. Yes, there probably could be a few more trophies. But I think the club is no one ever speaks about the club as these guys are definitely winning the league. These guys are definitely winning. It's always just there's always another two clubs and then Liverpool, but they're always there. They're always knocking on the door. So I would say I hope it's an unbiased opinion, but I would say incredibly underrated currently. But it could change.
I've discovered this being a Liverpool fan for the last 3 or 4 years now. Is that it is the one club people love to hate.
They do, yeah.
That's why I say it's underrated, because people they love to hate it.
Yeah.
And Liverpool fans deal with that. They're okay with that because we're just on the ascendancy right now.
Yeah.
But you speak about some other clubs that wear red, underrated, overrated. It gets very put because you don't want to go there because it could turn. But
sports is always a controversial. With the wrong fans, that conversation could always go. But we like pushing buttons anyway. Yes. So I've learned that while your team's on top, you've got to eat while it's good. So I'm going to tuck into fans if I need to, because a time will come. Life comes at you fast. That's just the fact. So there will come a time where Liverpool aren't the top dogs, and then I'm going to look back at my season of being at the top. Did I really take full advantage of it? And I don't want to look back with regret at that season. I want to say I think I did because these guys are going to come.
As long as you can drink your own medicine, that's
that's what we've learned.
Oh yeah. Okay, let's move on. What you had another one?
Yeah, I had another one which I'm going to leave. I'm going to do another one because we both really like Apple products. Let's talk Apple. Are they underrated, overrated, appropriately rated? This is a tough one.
It is a tough one. I'm gonna go with underrated because of the amount of flack that Apple users get from the other side of the smartphone market from Android users. But I'm going to say underrated, although I do wish that some of their products would include more of a working environment. I think it's really well set up for individual users. But I'm just going to say underrated. I just love Apple's fantastic.
Yeah, I have to agree. I love how all of the Apple products work so well together. So if
they do.
Got the iPad or your phone or whatever the deal is, whatever position you're in, they work well together. It's high quality. I get the hate or the flack that people maybe can give, but
but I feel like Apple users probably had that coming. I think if you not if you're at the top of the tree, but if you like to kind of be like, oh,
and flaunt
what I got, then it's probably you're probably reaping what you're saying.
Yeah, probably. But I think we've got that one. Okay, I've got one because I've actually traveled with you before, so this will be interesting.
Ooh.
So window seats on a plane or even anywhere, because you would have done some train travel as well. In your time, I haven't done too many trains. Just the idea of the window seat, and I think it's a good one because people are always fighting about the window seat. They want the window seat, but I know that might be different for you. What do you? Underrated.
Window seats is highly overrated. Highly overrated.
You got to tell us
on
why.
a train, it's different. So for a plane, a window seat is highly overrated.
Yeah.
Because you might fall asleep there. Great, you got something to lean against, but you have to somehow do gymnastics to get out of your seat if you need to go to the toilet.
Yeah.
Long flights, especially. And let's be honest, the view doesn't change too much. It's blue and there's clouds. That's it. That's what you've got to look at.
Yeah.
So if I'm going to be watching a movie on the flight, I don't care which seat. I'm sitting on the aisle where I can get out easily and stretch.
Just not the middle. You want to be anywhere but the middle.
No. The middle is garbage.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like sitting in a toilet.
It is like sitting in a toilet. For me, I would say, I'm going to do it again. I would say the window seat is probably overrated, but it doesn't mean that I like sitting by the window. I like looking out as we take off and looking out while we land. And if there's some lights or stuff at the bottom or things to look at, like I remember we were flying to when I was younger, like I was about 12, we flew to Canada, and then we flew, like it was some beautiful, like icy, like mountain views and stuff we had when we were getting pretty close, and that was quite phenomenal. But for the most part, especially if you're traveling at night, you can see nothing really.
Yeah.
So I would say that the hype around is probably overrated, but I still, if I can get a window seat, I'm probably going to try and grab it.
No, fair enough. I think if you're in the aisle, and then you're flying past the scenic view because you're landing, you do feel like you miss out a little bit, because everybody is leaning over the poor person sitting by the window to look out the window.
Totally. Maybe one more. Church online.
Church on the line.
Overrated, underrated.
Church online is massively underrated now.
Yeah. Do you think that's due to so many people having to get on out of necessity and then kind of just growing numb to it, even like similar to maybe what's happened with Zoom calls? Or what would you say?
I'm going to say that neither of those would be reasons why I would say it's underrated. The reason I'm saying it's underrated is because I think we haven't quite tapped, even though we've gone through a year, I don't know how many people are fully committed into it. Yeah. And so they don't see the value that lies there, but they're not looking 5 years down the road.
Yeah.
Church is best when there are physical people around with you doing it. But where it's underrated because people look at church online and they describe church online as which is what's happening on the Sunday service. For me, that's not church online. That is a part of the church online. Church online is the text messages, the video content, the place where we can continue to make connections and add to community. I think people overrate church online because, people will look at church online and go, flip, church was never meant to be that way. I agree mostly, but I think it's a great supplement, not a replacement.
Yeah.
So I see church going, Life Church, I don't know if you saw this, but Life Church had one of their first virtual reality services.
I saw.
And they had people get saved. Now, that is just scratching the surface because the technology is looking. I've watched a video recently of technology that's looking beyond virtual reality called augmented reality, which means you'll be able to sit in your room wearing a pair of glasses that will project the room around you from somebody else. And that technology may be 5 or 10 years away. So the future looks like people experiencing church in an augmented reality sense. And they're talking about haptic suits, all of this stuff for augmented reality into the future. Do I think that's a positive thing? No, I do think that's a reality. And so I think church online will only get better for those who are committed to it and will reap the benefits from it in 10 years time. So that's why I think it's underrated. It's in its infancy. Lots of problems with it, but it's not a replacement. And I think people get worried about that. I think it's a supplement. Listen, you asked a question that is way deeper than what you intended. But
I know. I've got another question now, but maybe I should just give I'm also going to say.
Yeah, let's hear from you.
I'm also going to say underrated, and I'm going to carry on with the thought that you brought about. I think church online is not just the service, or not just what, the program or what happens on a Sunday. I think it's maybe it starts on a Sunday, but it goes into Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday with extra content, extra ways that people can connect, extra ways that we can create lobbies for people to hang out and to meet and to grow and to become more like Christ, because there are so many people on the internet in the world today. It just feels like we're not trying to replace anything, but it just feels like if we aren't trying to milk that and aren't trying to find out every best way that we could possibly use that, it does kind of feel like, in my opinion, that you're missing out on a really, really big opportunity, a really big window. Yeah. You want to go where the people are, and it's very clear where the people are right now. So you want to have a form of the church. You want to have a form of something everywhere. It's not about saying that, hey, when we're meeting online, it's better than when we're meeting in person. We make it very clear that in the building is better. But I don't think we can now neglect or go into a place where we don't value that. I actually think it needs to be for us, we view it as a priority, where we want to get better at it and make sure that we're putting stuff out there. But
yeah, and we're far from where we want to be. But
yeah. No, my follow-up question was just along the lines of, because I saw that post and it like, I don't know a lot about what's happening with the metaverse. And I think like with all of that stuff that's happening, but maybe just in your opinion, do you think that the future and the virtual reality and all of these like NFTs, all of these things that are coming forward now and stuff like that, what do you think the perspective is of the believer today? Is it something to look forward and possibly be fearful of? Is it something to be is it something that we can be excited to throw ourselves into? What do you think should be the perspective and the standpoint of the believer? Because just in chatting with some people, the unknown is always scary. So when you look at something like, what do you mean we're going to be able to do that? What do you mean that's how you can trade and that's how you can do that? It can always be scary, but maybe from the perspective and the position of a believer, how do you think we should think about some of these advances and some of these ways that technology and the world is moving forward?
Wow, that's a deep question for today.
I know. I'm sorry.
That's like you gone right there. I would say it's the same as what it was for a believer before the internet was launched.
Yeah, sure.
So before, people were on fax machines and they had a telephone that was still connected to a wall.
Yeah.
What's about to happen, or what is happening now for me, is the same thing as an invention or the evolution of technology. It is from having the phone connected to the wall to now having everything accessible on your phone.
Yeah.
I think the technology. So I don't think for the believer anything changes. And I think that we can be resistant of the new and resistant of new technologies. And we always have to ask the theological question, well, what is the church's stance on these things?
Yeah.
But I think the point, and you made it, that the church belongs where people are. Good. Does that mean that technology should define what a church is like? Absolutely not. I think we've got to, as much as possible, always push people or connect people to real physical relationships. Yeah. But I don't think that excludes an online meeting space. Because think about it, people are getting married today who met online.
Yeah, it's true.
Does that make it any more or less real? Sure, they can't have children together online. So there are some things you just can't do online. But it seems like the technology is moving at such a pace that barrier is only getting smaller and smaller and smaller. Think about this. 10 years ago, to broadcast your service or to broadcast anything, you'd have to spend millions of rands in order to broadcast anything, because cameras were so expensive. It was hard to get into it. Now you can broadcast a service off your cell phone. You can reach people across the world. So I think the technology is making the boundaries and barriers smaller. So I think that believers should see it as an opportunity to share the good news, and not like a megaphone, but through connection. Should share the good news, should connect with people, serve people, all of the things that Jesus called us to do in the world. And online is another room or another venue for that to happen. So I'm pretty excited about it, to be honest. I think the potential is huge. There are huge risks and huge downfalls, but we can be the church complaining about like secular music from 40 years ago.
Yeah.
And now it's a norm.
Yeah.
I just worry that people will be left behind because they held on to a holy cow that wasn't so holy.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a great way to put it. I mean, just looking back, how people were looking at the world 30 years ago or 20 years ago and what it is now. I think it's so easy for us to sit down and be like, what do you mean? The internet's so helpful. It's so easy. It's all of these things. How could people have been doubtful? But it's there. Change is scary. And I think for believers, ask that fundamental question every time. What are the implications of this on our faith, on our church? Like, what do we believe? Always have that question close to your heart. But I agree. I think that the world is moving, things are changing. It's always been like this. Things have always developed and moved on. So we don't want to be the people. We don't want the church to be the place that just left behind and then are no longer with the people, or no longer relevant for people to join. But also never compromising on the keys and on the foundations of our faith. So
totally.
keep asking questions. No, that's good. I thought I'd just ask because I
think it's good.
It's happening at the moment. It's like even NFTs. I know nothing about NFTs, but people are spending loads of money on these like digital like things, and it's worth. And like for me, I need to read up about it, and I need to clean myself up. It's cool. It's exciting.
I want to learn more about it. I think the reality is that it could go bust or it could go big.
Yeah,
people were having this conversation about cryptocurrency as well, and the jury might still be out. But the reality is people are still making things happen out there. And for me, the danger is that people will rely only on online connections. That's dangerous for me.
Yeah,
I think as soon as, and we always put it against it, like, which one would you choose? Either or? No, it's not either or, it's both.
Yeah, it's both and.
So that's where I think we need to be careful that we're not pushing one, like online is the future. No, it's part of the future, but it's not the future.
Yeah.
People, we still need each other. We still need to be in the room together.
Yeah.
But there are elements that help, Yeah. So let's use what we can. Let's use all the tools.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we're going to close our episode off now pretty soon. I wanted to ask you, what was maybe 2 or 3 highlights out of your year that you could look back on? And I'd encourage everyone in our audience to actually have a look back and go, what are some of the things I'm really grateful for? So what are some highlights for you?
Yeah, I think I mentioned in my word summary of the year, the word growth. And I think one of those things, because we had started broadcasting as a church last year already, and it started well, but we never quite got into kind of the rhythm, and it wasn't really working the way that we wanted it to. And then with some upgrades and stuff that we were able to do this year, we were able to start putting out a pretty good product with regards to our broadcasting and going live on a Sunday, and making sure that regardless of restrictions or case numbers, that we were able to put something out to people that couldn't make it to the building. And for me, that whole process was very much a learning process, getting the right equipment, learning some new things, building team that was able to kind of run that. And I think every area could always be better and can always be improved. But for me, I felt a level of accomplishment when that was done. And the fact that we've got a product that can be worked upon, that can be improved, that can get better, and is. For me, that was a huge highlight. And then to look back at where our stream is now from a professional level to maybe where it was when we started. Very proud of that, very proud of the team, and very proud of the people that we get to serve with and do that. So that was a big accomplishment, or felt like a big highlight for me. And then I think also on a relational level, I feel like highlights have just been building more relationship with the guys in our evening service. It's a service that we launched last year, but it kind of still feels like something new because it's been launched and relaunched and stuff. But it's a service that's been going for a while, and we've seen there were some incredible pockets of momentum this year. Things like we had a worship night that happened just a few weeks ago, which was an amazing night of people coming together, worshiping, doing something slightly different. Everybody kind of stepping out of their comfort zone and just being able to meet new people, build new relationship, reach people in the community in a service that feels relatively new. For me, has been an incredible highlight. That whole service, just everything that it stands for, people stepping out, new guys coming to know God, creating a place for anybody, but for young adults and even for teens to come in and to build relationship with different people. That was that would be a huge highlight as well. Really enjoyed just being involved in that. And seeing God work through that. And I think from a personal level, maybe just to round it off, I think just even being at home, and I feel like stuff with my marriage has improved, and I think we know more about each other. These seasons are so funny in that it can bring tensions, and it can bring things that can often add stress, but even through that you can learn and grow and find out more about each other. And we haven't been married just over 2 years. So there's a lot we're learning and a lot we're figuring out. But even in the process of this year, I think a highlight is just us getting to know each other better, and trying to serve and love each other in a better way, in a way that makes each other feel, this is awesome. So just those kind of three, those come to mind. Good. But even as I speak, there were many highlights and many positives from this year that I will hold kind of dearly and close to my heart, even as I go forward and look forward, because it just was that year, like you said, roller coaster, but some incredible positives and some incredible highlights that I won't forget.
Good.
And for yourself?
Good. Now I'll answer myself, but what are you for? I'm quite curious. Are you a 3-stripe man or are you a swoosh man?
Oh, I see.
Adidas or Nike?
This is so
Nike.
Difficult because
you look like I've asked you an existential question.
It's so tough because most of my gear, like the stuff that I like to buy when I can afford it, is I've got a lot of Adidas. I've got a lot of the 3-stripe. I do like, and so I think I have to say it. But there's something about Nike that just feels like it's the next step. I don't know. It just feels like it's when I grow up, I'm gonna get Nike type vibe. But I think if I have to just say it, I think I've definitely favored the Adidas, definitely. But Nike, especially now they sponsor Liverpool as well. It's like it does feel like one day I will grow up and be ready to have Nike stuff.
I had this really cool gift voucher. And I walk into Adidas and I'm like, flip, there are quite a few shoes here I would really love.
Options.
And then I walk into Nike and I'm like, I really want to buy a Nike shoe.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure I like.
Yeah, no, that is
any of them. And I don't want to buy one. So maybe one day when I'm big, like you say, a pair of Air Jordans might be interesting, but
they're sick. They're so cool.
But other than that, I'm like, I tried really hard. Yeah. But okay. Three, some of the biggest things for me for this year, other than the fact that schools were open, that was nice.
Yeah, I'm sure that was a huge one.
That was a relief. We worked really hard on putting together a leadership pipeline and a development process for people in our church. Although it's not 100% there just yet, I was really thankful, and that was a highlight for me to get that we could put that together and put that out and start working people on the process, so that starting of next year we've got some people that are signing on to a special process, but also there's other things that will be running and training and development. I'm really excited about that. I thought that we had a great ladies conference this year.
Jeez, that was off the
church. That was primarily focused on online. So the online was really strong around relationship, but then things just worked out and I thought it was a really powerful ministry.
Yeah.
And again, just for the 167 podcast, the fact that we were able to get through this year and producing content and value to people who would take the time to listen. I'm really grateful for them. Maybe one other thing is just putting together an online community, trying to really push hard into having a first online course, DNA course that's out there, our circle community that we're kind of starting to wade through. So there's been so much. I mean, and there's like you said, there's so much more, but those are definitely some standout ones that have been really powerful.
This year has been, there's been so much. And I think like we mentioned in the beginning, I think for even everybody watching, everybody listening, I think it's great to take a moment, just take stock, like just have a think, because even just in the conversation, more memories, more thoughts are coming to mind. And you know what I figured, and what I found out with these COVID years, I'm going to call them, is that there are things that happened this year that I could swear to you happened last year. And it feels like my years have just kind of been totally rearranged. So you need it, like just mush, just boom, just one thing. So you actually need to think back, even just go through the photos on your phone. That'll give you a good idea of what you were doing each month.
That's good.
But for me, it's just, I think it's great. Everybody watching, everybody listening. Yes, we're excited for 2022. It's going to be amazing. And there's going to be so many good things, and we're going to achieve our goals. So we're going to step into what God's called us to. But let's not write off 2021 and 2020. Lots of lessons of just 2021, lots of lessons, lots of things that we can take from, and positives that I really believe is going to build into us for next year.
Man. That sounds so good. I think it's great. I think it's been a good conversation, and it's been a good year of podcasting. Thanks so much to our audience. We love and appreciate every single one of you, even though we can't see your faces. Although if you posted pictures, we would see your faces.
We would.
But tag us or whatever, or leave a comment. We'd love to reach out and just to see how you're going, and to thank you. Take stock of the year. And what we're going to take is we're going to take a bit of a break now, sort of end this season. We'll start a new season of podcasting in sort of towards the end of January. Give us some time to get some good things prepared and get the year going. And we look forward to that. So thanks for being with us in this season. And we'll start again in the new season in Jan. But it's been awesome.
Yeah, thanks everybody. Have a great one. We have a great Christmas. Have a great New Year. Enjoy your time, and we will see you very, very soon. Cheers.